How's it going, everybody? It's your old pal Joe, and I'm here at SPX 2024 with us.
I'm Rusty.
Oh, Rusty, welcome.
Yeah, check it out. Yeah.
And also with us,
I'm Ditto.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome to you as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's my norm guest, my normal guest.
Yeah. Average guest, I guess.
Average, definitely.
The constant guest.
Oh my
Constant
God,
guest,
like
I
a
like
house
that.
guest that won't leave.
Yeah.
Oh my! Thank you for putting the words that I was feeling.
You know, I'm happy to do it.
First things first, I noticed that your glasses match your shirt, and it's very nice.
Yes,
That's
I need
nice.
these to see.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
helps.
yeah. So that really helps. I just happen to love the color purple, and as such, most of my shirts are purple.
Oh,
Makes
okay.
sense.
Well, it's a delightful combination.
Thank you
I
so
really
much.
like
I
it.
definitely did it on purpose.
And he is new to frames as well.
I
Oh,
just had
exciting.
glasses
Those are
for the
great.
First time 3 weeks ago.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good choice. Good
Yeah,
choice.
Being able to see, pretty cool. I
Yeah,
like it.
right?
Yeah.
It's kind of my
Oh,
favorite thing.
Recommend it. It's nice.
I wish I could say the same. I hate that which I see.
Yeah. Just
funny.
like take them away.
Now, more pertinent matters, G. What brings you to the Small Press Expo?
Yeah.
I actually have a table this
Nice.
year that I'm very excited about it. You know, that whole thing happened in 2020.
Yeah,
You may have heard about it.
I hurt my. That was 2022. I hurt my
Yeah,
knee.
yeah.
I don't know what happened in 2020.
You know, yeah, I'll let you do a little bit of research. I'll let you
I
do
will
your own
jam
research.
through your own
actually.
research, folks.
Yeah.
It-
I'll get Chat GPT to tell me what it is.
That's the perfect thing to do. That's going to give you
Dear
a great.
Robot, what happened in 2020?
So how
Great,
did
yeah.
this mystery event affect your work?
Well, I was doing just comics up until about 2019. In 2019, I got my first job working for a haunted house. I was a designer, and then I also acted. I did all sorts of stuff for this haunted house. It was called the Haunted Basement out in Minneapolis.
Nice.
So at the very beginning of the pandemic, I finished a comic that I had been working on for some time, and then I was like, I'm going to teach myself how to make skin and like all sorts of just weird haunted house stuff that I could eventually use. And then I didn't really stop making comics, but it just became one of many things that I
Okay,
was
yeah.
doing. So this is my first SPX back after about 5 years now. It is
Wow.
also 10 years since my first SPX.
Wow.
Which is crazy to think. And it was my very first SPX that inspired me to make comics in the first place.
Awesome.
So I just, coming back, it's really a full circle. The art career, I don't know if it's taken off, but it's going in exciting new directions, and it feels like coming home, you know?
Well, welcome home.
Thank you so much.
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
There has been a U-shaped hole for the time that you've been away.
That is
Yes.
my hole. It was made for me.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is what I was going for, but I'm glad you saw that as well.
Yes.
I got you.
So tell us about your work. What type of comics did you try to make?
I actually usually make horror comics, which, haunted houses,
sense,
it tracks. I really like to adapt classic horror. So the last comic that I did before the one that I released here was an adaptation of The Music of Eric Zahn by H.P. Lovecraft. I did that just because I didn't know how I wanted to depict music. So I just really saw that as an interesting challenge, and just kind of ran with it. And then for this show, I have an adaptation of Clark Ashton Smith's Ubosathla. I don't know if you're familiar with the story, but it's very like this guy finds an orb, and he looks into the orb, and that orb connects him to all of space and time, going all the way back to the primordial ooze from which all life comes from. And it was also one where I just read that story, and I was like, this would be really interesting to try and depict visually. So with my comics work these days, I'm typically finding these classic horror stories that are super weird, old cosmic horror, and then just kind of thinking how do I depict something that I can't even fully imagine?
Right.
And I have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. Well, it's so broad and it's so big.
Yeah.
That it's interesting to try to find ways to kind of slim it down and bring it in and condense it into comics.
Yeah, exactly. It's really for this release of Ubosathla, I did a reading as well. I got really into audiobooks in the last year, doing a lot of driving, doing a lot of work, and I was like, I can do that. So I went back and I reread the story, and I was kind of like, oh, I got it. I got it pretty good. I did a pretty good job. I was very proud of myself. Yeah.
Cool.
I've heard from people that have had to record their own audiobooks that it is just a terrible burden at times because
Yes.
every part they have to be a certain way, especially if there's a producer, bringing them along. It's no, we need you to hit that differently. We want you to hit this. your readings, have you adjusted as you've went along? You know, like, have you done more than one where you kind of changed the presentation a little bit?
So I've recorded only one. You know, I've recorded to the point that I feel like I can actually edit and make something out of only one. Okay. I've recorded a few, and then I was just kind of, something came up, I got busy, whatever. And so my favorite part would always be, my favorite thing to do in the haunts that I work in is vocal modulation. Mm-hmm. So my favorite thing to do is really just find different voices, different ways to express this, and different ways to hit it. So I don't have a producer, so it's really me just like, did that work?
Right.
So I guess, I'm not sure if I actually answered your question.
No, but still, you've said many interesting things.
Oh, thank you.
What it makes me wonder, though, is how do you remember the voices match to where it was that you came up with them? Like, if it's for a character or if it's for a certain type of atmosphere, are you able to kind of reconnect with that voice when the time comes?
Yeah, usually I am. You know, it will often take a few minutes for me to be like, oh, that's not quite there. That's not quite it. Like, I'll find a perfect voice, and then when it comes time to record, I just have to find it again. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, what I'll do to do that is I'll have a phrase, right, and I'll say that phrase in that voice, and then that lets me hold on to the voice. It's very helpful. A lot of voice actors will also do something where do a similar, but that in particular for accents. Mm-hmm. There's like a technique in which there are certain phrases that contain all of the tonal shifts in any given accent.
Wow.
Like, that's fascinating, right?
No, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's super cool. So like I try to do that to keep up. I don't do a lot of accents. I like to do voices, right? And accents, voices, you know, kind of a similar thing, but different at the same time. So I'll do things like that. And a lot of times it's like one of the ones that I recorded but haven't done anything with yet is the Statement of Randolph Carter by H.P. Lovecraft. And like I just had Harley Warren's voice in my head just as like this really kind of nasally obnoxious man who is bringing you down to the graveyard where he's going to do whatever. That wasn't the exact voice, but I know like I want to jam it into my nose and then get a little bit more full in the back of my throat.
I think it's fun because you're like, it's not the exact voice, but what it is, though, is it fills the qualifications of what you think this person is.
Exactly. And then it's just finding like the little things that made his voice unique.
And I love the idea with the phrase for each thing. Mm-hmm. It's almost just to have like a mental like index and like tag.
Yeah.
You know, you're just keeping a catalog, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool.
It is. Voice acting is just one of my favorite things.
On the comics
so cool.
end, are there any like tools that you've taken from your haunted house participation, maybe even the way you've done the readings, that you're transferring into actually making the comics?
Yes, in the sense that, like, in a haunted house, you often have no money, right? And you have very little time, you have very little money, and you have what is on hand to actually just pull this off. So I got really good at, like, well, I have a bucket and I have this thing of like gap filler, and so I can make a toilet. And just kind of thinking differently about what I have on hand and what I can do with that to make it into something that I'm actually looking for. That skill really came to me from doing haunted houses.
So it seems like you really just had to come up with a lot of ingenuity and and resourcefulness.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. So this is your 10 years anniversary.
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
SPX? Yeah. No, it's really weird and off-putting. I don't know if I like it.
I don't like it.
So, like, what would you say has changed the most from what you've seen since your first time?
I don't recognize as many people.
Yeah.
I mean, I was actually just saying to someone that I just ran into that it's fascinating how it's so similar yet so different. Mm-hmm. Like I see so many more different techniques. I'm seeing a lot of like blacklight stuff, and I think that's amazing. I love blacklight stuff. Right. And I'm seeing so many different kinds of voices. And SPX has always been a very open and inclusive place. Mm-hmm. But like it just continues to become even more so.
Yeah.
So that's both different and the same for me.
I can also see like there was always the potential and the possibility for being open and available and diverse, but now it's like it's actually being realized.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also see what you were saying when the faces are different, but generally it's the same. It's like, it's not necessarily roles, but there's a lot of the same types. Like, the people kind of replenish within these communities or interests, even if the individual people are different.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, in that 5-year gap, a whole new class has graduated and come into their own, and it is so cool to like get to come back and see like, these both these people who are doing new and incredible things, and also the people who like 10 years ago I'm like buying their little zines, and now they're special guests.
Yeah,
that's my favorite thing.
Yeah, and I really like getting to see people grow and change, and I like getting to see people who are just, fresh off the creative boat. Like, they are just new at this, and they're, doing their first attempt.
First mini comic.
And it may be a mess.
Yeah.
But it's awesome that they still made it.
Exactly.
And it's awesome that they're trying to share it. It's really what makes me happy about the mix of all the different stages of creator that you get to have in a place like this.
Yeah. What I really, really love about SPX is just the sheer level of inspiration that comes from just walking around the floor. Like I said, my first year, I was like, well, I can do that. Like, all of these people can.
That is our exact story.
We always say that. Like,
right?
we came when we were like teenagers
Yeah.
the first year, and it was just to see like 2 or 3 big name people, and then we see all these things we never heard of, and we see people just making their own little like, questionable quality at times books, and we're like, we can make that. We can do that. And so we did, and ours were also questionable quality, but
I really like the really diplomatic way you're putting it, because the way it's usually said is that we saw some really bad stuff, and we say we can make bad stuff.
Yeah.
We can
Because
do
then
that
we
too.
get to participate.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the thing is, when you make bad things, when you fail, you learn how to not fail in that way.
Absolutely.
Not the exact same way, at least.
No. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's really, and that's important.
It's very important. I truly believe that in art there is no such thing as failure. There's just a learning opportunity.
Yes. And it's more important to have done the thing.
Yeah, the more important thing is
than
just
not.
to do.
Absolutely. A few years ago I shot a feature on $0. It was actually hilariously low budget. And like, it was really difficult, but it gave me that confidence, because now I can say, well, I shot a feature, so I can do that.
Oh, yeah.
You got that under your belt.
I love that philosophy. You will always have done this thing.
Yeah.
And nothing can take that away from you.
Exactly.
Well, it's like people, here when they talk about doing comics, like, how do I get into the industry and things like that? You make a comic.
Yeah, I mean,
and there is no better business card than a finished comic that you can hand to somebody.
Exactly.
And be like, this is what I can do.
Yeah. I mean, yesterday, I had someone come up and they asked me, how do you publish? And I was like, well, I have a printer and I have a stapler. Yeah. And there you go. It's published.
Yeah. And that really is all it takes.
It really is. And this place, far more than like C2E2 or Comic-Con or something, makes you really feel that.
Yeah.
And
there's almost no barrier of entry outside of doing the work.
Yeah, exactly.
Will come here and be
like making a feature film is so much harder.
Yeah.
Because there's so many components that are required. There's so much outside of your control. But something like a mini comic, something that you produced on your own, you were able to control so much more of the real estate.
Yeah. And had I not come here and began making my comics, I would not have had the confidence to create a feature or to apply to work at a haunt or to do all of the things that I'm doing now. And it's just, I used to run the comic book club at my university, the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and I always would say that indie comics in particular are the basis of all media. Media is a pyramid. As we go higher up, we get things that are bigger budget, that more people have seen. As we go lower down, it gets bigger, but it's lower budget, fewer people have seen it, but it's more personal and it's more real. And we can look at things at SPX like Nimona, right? Nimona started out as a webcomic.
Yeah.
Now it's an Oscar-nominated film. Indie comics are the basis of all media, and of all media like consumption and understanding and so on.
It's also evidence of a personal story.
Yeah.
Being able to resonate at a much larger scale. And it doesn't have to be something that is intended to be for lots of people.
Yeah,
and in
exactly.
fact, with no budget, like, it's almost inherently a passion project, So it's going to be very personal. It's going to be something that they really just want to tell this story.
Yeah.
I have a question about your time in the haunted housing game.
Yes.
What is it like? what is it that you really enjoy about your work in that world? Because it's so, from the outside observer, so much of it's invisible.
Yeah.
All you
very
see
much.
is the
Just
end
the final
result, the
product.
effects. But as one of the creative people behind such a thing, what is it that you really get into?
That's a many-fold answer, many layers to that answer. I will start with actually a pet peeve of mine, which is how often my aunt calls me up and she's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to work at the Haunt. It's July." Yeah, I have to build it.
Yeah, it doesn't
just
exist.
pop up. It is an incredible amount of work, but it's also incredibly fulfilling. What I really love about haunted houses is being able to create atmosphere. Atmosphere is the most important part of a haunt.
We have a
making
little
you feel
visitor walking
engaged and
past.
immersed. And then also, I mean, honestly, it's just really fun to scare people.
Oh yeah.
It's super fun.
Well, I guess one other thing too is like the direct feedback, the direct, seeing the results.
Oh yeah.
On the people, you're not going to usually be able to see people reading your comics or see
Exactly.
people watching your movie,
Yeah.
but they're experiencing in person what you're doing with those.
I also
Very
like
much
the
so.
idea that it's like two sides coming together to agree on a reality.
Yeah.
Like they're willingly joining into this, and you are presenting it, and you're both agreeing like we're just going to set aside our better thoughts, and
Yeah.
we're going to have a good time now.
Yeah, you know, one of my favorite things about haunted houses is, fear is a very powerful, intense, and important emotion. It is something that we need to engage with and we need to understand so that when it matters, we can handle it, right? And a haunted house gives you an opportunity to engage with that in a way that's both very real and very safe.
Oh yeah.
And I just find that to be such an incredibly important thing.
Yeah.
Some haunted houses do it better than others. I think mine might do it really well.
Yeah.
But I'm a little biased. But I lost my train of thought.
It's okay.
Just
Well,
kind of
that's okay.
went right off.
Yeah, it's almost like training. For when the real,
Yeah.
for when zombies do show up. You know, like,
Exactly. So now you know exactly how fast you can run.
Right.
I haven't tested my speed in a long time. I suspect I know it's subpar.
Slightly lacking.
Do you really like, horror, scary things? Is
Yes.
Like, do you like going through that cycle of the anticipation, the fear, kind of building up,
Yes.
and then?
I mean,
assured?
horror is my favorite thing in the world. Again, I really love atmosphere. Horror does atmosphere very well, and like horror also requires us to innovate. What was scary 30 years ago is not necessarily scary now. Often horror reflects the fears of our society, or the personal fears of one person, or whatever. And in order to be scary, you need to do something different. Like Friday the 13th is a great example. That first Friday the 13th movie was scary, horrifying when it came out. Now we're like, yep, they're running,
Sure,
they're in
okay,
the woods.
yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
And
there's the young kids; they don't know what's going on.
And like in a haunt in particular, like we really need to do an incredible amount of work to make you forget that you're inside of a mall, or that you're that I'm a guy in a mask, and this horror requires innovation, and I really love that, as well as like all the stuff I just said about the how important fear is, how intense of an emotion that is, and how we need to be able to engage with it in safe ways. Horror is just my favorite thing.
That's so cool.
I think it's wonderful how much you enjoy it.
Thank you. I do too.
Now, would you like to answer a mystery question?
Oh, sure.
Let's
Sweet.
bring in the mystery machine of mystery
Oh,
questions.
the mystery machine.
Let's go ahead and get the big quarter truck out there.
All right.
Filled to the brim, nigh with
Filled to the something.
with quarters.
Nice.
So open up the back hatch there.
back.
Okay, I'm
We'll
opening
grab
up
the
the
quarter.
back. There's a quarter in here. Oh, there sure
Somewhere in
is.
there.
Oh, there's a
Nice.
There's a dollop of quarters.
Pop it in. All right. Mystery question.
Gee,
Maybe.
maybe not. Maybe
Oh,
that's
God.
the true mystery. Can we access the mystery question?
Yes. There you go.
Gee, what's your mystery question?
What is your biggest superstition? Ooh. I know I have some.
I like to believe that that's your superstition.
That I have superstitions.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. That's it. I like that. I'm here for it.
All right.
It's interesting because superstitions are one of those things you're usually not really conscious of.
Yeah, exactly.
They just kind of are there.
Yeah. So I mean I don't walk under ladders, but that's because of like that's just kind of dangerous, you
Legitimate
know.
safety concerns. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think that, I mean, that does make sense, especially if you're used to hazards. Like, you work in an environment where there's going to be lots of construction.
Oh,
so
yes.
it's not just you saying, I hear this. Like, no, I see this. I know the dangers.
Yes.
I understand possibilities. But it
Based on
is funny
facts.
that it would be hard to pinpoint them because so often to you, they're not superstitions.
Yeah,
they're just
it's
logical
logic.
beliefs.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, where can people find out about your comic work online?
They can go to gditto.art on Instagram. That's currently my only online presence. I'm not great at the onlines.
That's all right.
Not wrong.
You can also email me, gdittoart@gmail.com. I'm here at SPX. And if you find yourself in the Twin Cities area, you can come visit me at Onion Head's Revenge at the Mall of America.
Nice. Oh, Mall of America. even?
Oh yeah, no big deal.
So
no
this
big
is-
deal.
This is legit.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
it's
that's
also
the
about
official Mall
45,000
of
square feet.
America.
Oh yeah, and they invited us.
The nation's horror.
So-
I mean, okay, like I was doing like the false bravado voice, but that's actually real bravado.
That's-
that they did invite you.
They did. They did. We are America's haunt. And I'm coining that right now. We
I was
are
gonna
America's
say,
haunt.
that's
Onion Head's
really
Revenge.
good.
I'm going to text my boss that now.
America's Haunt is really good.
That's strong.
Now, before we let you go,
Yeah.
we have a new feature for our 2024 interviews.
Brand new.
Cool.
And that is the prize gallery.
Oh
behind us.
goodness.
And so among the prizes, which any of them can be yours. We have a set of 4 coasters. We have a pot holder. We have
wow.
a laminated placemat. We have a puzzle. We have a tea towel. We have a gigantic blanket. We have a pillow. We have a keepsake box and a shopping bag.
Oh goodness.
Which prize would you like to take home with you?
Man, I wasn't expecting this. I think I got to go with the pillow.
The
Nice.
pillow.
Nice.
Fantastic. We'll go ahead and get that when we're off
love it.
camera because it's just out of reach. But thank you so much for sitting with
Yes,
us. I hope
this
you had a
is
great
Thank
time.
you so much for sitting with me.
And I hope you have a fun time with the rest of the show.
I do too, and I hope you guys have some more great interviews.
Thank
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks.